Okay, everybody, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how I make a beef roast. The beef roast is going to be flavored with thyme, salt and pepper, and rosemary and garlic. So let me get my knife. Alright, so the first step that we want to do with the piece of meat is we want to stab holes like this all the way through so that we can get what we're putting in there. Flip it, make sure you do that on all the sides. They don't have to be perfect, you just have to have enough space to be able to get your seasonings in it. And as you can tell, I am going all the way through. Look at the marbling on that, yum. Okay, now once you've got that done, I'm going to grab your garlic. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this, follow me. Okay, I ran out of memory on the phone. I had to go delete some stuff. So it'll be in two parts. You can see it all on YouTube. Anyhow, what we've done is we've got the holes stabbed through it most of the way. Alright, so that's good. I'm going to get my rosemary out, because this will be the next step. I'm just going to cut them about that long, however long they need to be to fit through. So that's about half the size. So they'll all be about there. And when you get your rosemary, if you use fresh rosemary, try and find the stuff that's fresh and new on the plant, which looks like this here. It's not as thick as that, so it gets much better flavor. You just take these and shove them in as far as you can into your holes. Get in there with your finger, just push it. And then you're also going to want your garlic. Grab a clove. Meaty, greasy hands there. Good thing I'm using the whole clove today. And this is what we're going to do all the way around in all of those holes that we've made in our roast. I cut them in half just so they release more oils. You shove one all the way to the other side, and just put the other one in there with it. Just like that. And you're going to do that to all of the holes. So you just shove it in there. They don't all have to have garlic if you don't want. It doesn't really make a difference. There's a big piece of garlic. It barely wants to fit. Alright, so there's that one. I'm going to finish up getting around the rest of this with these. Okay, so I've got the rosemary and the garlic in pretty much everywhere. Just want to get a couple more in there. A lot of overlapping holes, so. Alright, so now that I've got that in there, I'm going to take my garlic, I'm going to run it through my crusher. It's going to get rubbed on the outside with olive oil, rosemary, thyme, salt, and pepper. So I'm going to get started on that now. Oh, it's a slippery one. All right. Okay, so now that I got the garlic, I'm going to take my rosemary and I want to chop it up a lot more. And the reason why you want your small pieces of fresh is because it's easier to cut. You can't cut this thick one very easily. I didn't realize I had that one in there, so this one's kind of thick too. But the fresh growth, it cuts through pretty darn easily, so you can just I'm going to use a little bit more in there, but I'm not going to cut these up. I'm just going to strip them off and use them like that. So, want to get salt on there. I'm going to start with pepper. If you're wondering what's going on there, this is my little drill that I have on my pepper mill. The handle broke on it, so figured I'd modify it. It definitely grinds pepper a lot better than by hand. So, salt. Thyme. Oopsie, garlic is already getting on there. So garlic and this, you just want to mix them together a little bit and start rubbing them on the outside. Doesn't have to be perfect. It'll stick where it wants, as it wants to. Just take all of this stuff, get it on there like that. You're going to want to grab your crock pot or your oven bag or your Dutch oven and cook it off in that. But what I'm going to do before I even put it in the oven is I'm going to run the Dutch oven, because this is what it's going to cook in. I'll show you guys how to seal up a Dutch oven also. Never fits on here the way I want it to. It's like I'm blind. There we go. Alright, I'll go right there. Well, you use a little bit of olive oil or butter. Olive oil or butter or vegetable oil. Doesn't matter what you use. Get your pan really hot. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just getting some vegetables ready. They're not going in right now. They'll go in when I cook it, which I'm not cooking it till later tonight. It's gonna sit with browned and stuff in the pan and just marinating its flavors for a little while in the fridge. That way, when I'm ready to cook, I just have to grab it out of the fridge, throw it in the oven, and be ready. So just cut your vegetables into, chunks. You don't want small pieces because this is going to be in there for probably close to 3 hours. Just chunk it out. You want probably 1 potato per person that's going to be eating, just so everybody has ample amount of food. If you don't eat that much, I guess you don't need that much. So, anyhow, you can probably put carrots in there with it, stuff like that. Won't hurt. Like I did with the potato, you want to cut these in large chunks also. The easiest way to peel an onion is to grab a whole layer and take that whole layer off with it. Just cut these into chunks by cutting it once in the middle, and then you're going to cut in half the other direction, like this, and then cut the heel off. So that gives you a nice fat chunk. Now you could leave them whole like that if you want to, but that's kind of a large piece of onion to try and eat at one time. So just think about the fact that you don't really want to have to cut much but the roast when you bring it out. Sounds like soup's done. Soup is lunch. Get this stuff into the trash. The pan is ready for this. What I'm gonna do is be annoyed that somebody doesn't gas it right out. done. So just set it directly in on really high heat. The higher the better, because you just want to give it a nice sear. So that's just going to sit untouched for 3-4 minutes, just as long as it can come brown on one side. And then you're going to flip it, and then you're going to flip it, and you're going to do that to each side that you get to, and then you just let that sit in the fridge for a while with everything in there. This is going to end up going in with it also in large pieces, so you can easily fish them out after. Because you kind of don't want to eat that whole piece at one time because it's kind of spicy. These are the flowers from it, which have their own flavor also. So we're going to leave all these things right here. When we do this, we'll be covering this with olive oil after cutting off the top, and we're going to set that right on top of the crock pot lid when it's in the oven. That way it can roast. And then roasted garlic's really good. It's good for you too. So let me see if this is browned off enough to flip. Put it on the fork. There we go. Yeah, it's not great, but it's good enough. And now I'm just going to do that side. This is what it looks like, browned up. And then that side will sit for about the same amount of time. And when you flip it, you don't want to flip it so that it sits in that same spot. You want to flip it so it's in a completely different spot on the pan. That not only adds your pan a little bit of caramelization in the bottom of it, but it ensures that when you put your meat down, you get a good caramelize on your meat. So. Alright, so I've got all but this side brown, which that side would probably be kind of hard standing it up like a skyscraper. But as you can see, it's been well browned all the way around. So what I want to do now is I want to throw my sprigs in and put them right on top. They don't have to, go anywhere really special or anything. So just throw them in like that. I'm going to take my onion and I'm going to put that in. You want to put some on each side. You don't want them all in the same place. Kind of try and make it a somewhat even layer. And you don't really have to add much water to this because of the onions. They'll help get everything moist. But I'm going to show you how to seal this container. And where is the water? There it is. I'm not going to put the water in yet because it's not needed yet. But let me get started on the sealer for the pan. What you want to do is you want to take water. That's probably way too much. Had to drink some. Alright, so you take water. That's not a spoon. It has a small spoon there. Alright. And what you're going to do with this is you're going to make a paste. Kind of like a dough, but more like a sealing paste. Or not like that kind of sealing, but a seal as in the seal around your door or whatever. No, I don't want that turned down. So, get this mixed up. Katie, you want to mix this for me or hold the camera because this isn't working? Get your stuff all mixed up, kind of into a glue-like paste like this. You may need a little bit more water like I do. This is done by eye. There's no special measurement or anything. You just want to get it paste-like. Sticky paste. And that's actually pretty much about the way I want it. See, it's got that stringy, almost dough effect. Alright, so what I do with that is I take the lid. I'm going to use a spoon just because I want to keep my hands kind of clean. But you're going to take that and you're just going to smear it into your crack like this. Keeping your hand on that edge is going to help you with that. Because you just want it in that edge. You don't need it inside, anything like that. Just get it in there on this edge. This is going to seal it completely and hold all that moisture in, which is good because that's how you get a nice, tender, flavorful roast. So, here we go, almost done. So, yeah, it's a little dirty. Imagine doing this when you're camping. That'd be a pain in the butt. But I guess there's plenty of dirt when you're out camping to wash your hands with, right? And you really don't even need that much on there like that. That's excessive amount, but I want to make sure it seals well. So I'm just pushing it in as I go around, and that's done. So now I have a messy hand. What I want to do with this is I want to take it. See how it's got this little hole here? That hole there is actually so that you can put your thermometer in your meat. If you have a wired thermometer, you stick that in, you run your wire out through there. There's another hole here. Those would line up if you needed, but you just take your lid and you seat it right down on top like that. And it's, you know, ready to go. So I'm gonna turn the heat off, and it can sit like that on the stove until it's ready to go in the oven. It doesn't have to be refrigerated, it'll be just fine like that. And the heat that's already in there will start cooking a little bit. But I'm gonna put that in for about 8 hours. So I'll show you that when it gets there. See you soon. Alright, so I'm putting it in the oven. As you can see, it's dried up a little bit, which that always happens, and gets a nice tight seal on it. So you get a nice tight seal in there. You're gonna put it in the oven. This is gonna be in here for 2-3 hours, somewhere around there. I mean, there's no exact time for it. The longer you leave it in, at the lower the temperature, the more tender your meat's gonna be. That's all you need to remember. So this is gonna be 3 hours is kind of short, but being in a sealed container like this, should treat it like a pressure cooker, which will keep pressure in the pot, which will help cook the stuff faster. So, in turn, giving more tender food. So, anyhow, I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done in a couple of hours. So, wait for the... You waited for it. So, I just want to show you what it looks like right now. See, it's all brown along the edges. It's all crusted. That made a nice tight seal around the whole edge of that. I'm hoping there'll be some liquids in there when we open it up. It's got another half hour left. I'm gonna leave it in here with the heat off, and then take it out another half an hour. So, off, and we'll see it opened up after everybody's home in a little bit. So, hope you're ready to wait for it again. Earthquake! Okay, so it's cooled off again. Alright. Now hopefully this isn't too open. Still hot. And it's done. Of course, we already knew it was going to be done, but get rid of your sprigs of rosemary because you're not going to want to eat those. And let me find something to serve it on. Or cut it. Get your seal out of there, throw it away. Where's my fork? I had a fork. Oh, it's in the sink and dirty. Alright, so still kind of warm. Right, so those will go on plate with whatever. Alright, so no knife. Not needed. Hold this. Now you can see where the seasonings are in there. You can eat around them, or you just chop it up the way I am. It's easier to just chop it up. Okay, so dinner is served. Oh, I dropped it. Would be nice to have some gravy or something with it probably, but nothing was left in the pan moisture-wise to make gravy out of. So, but you can see what the seal does. It's really easy to clean off. It's not like a normal pan. If you have, you know, something baked on for a really long time, it's hard to get off. Dutch ovens, they're easy to clean. Like with this, I'll just throw it on the stove, heat it up, and throw some water in it, and that'll deglaze the pan, make it ready for again. So I'm gonna eat dinner.